Hey, what's up, this is Shaheel, and without any further ado, let's talk about the design. Taking a look at the watch itself, you're greeted with a 1.4-inch 450 by 450 pixel Super AMOLED display covered by a sapphire crystal glass element. The display is super sharp and crisp, the way it should be. Plus, it feels really responsive while using, so that's great. It's got two buttons on the side, one home button and the other one a back button. The home button has got a red ring around it. Love that. And these things are more than just buttons. We'll talk more about that in a while. There's a mic in between them and a speaker on the side. And this is all housed in a 45mm watch with a titanium case which is IP68 rated for water and dust resistance. But before talking anything about the smartwatch, I feel like it's important that we talk a bit about my experiences with smartwatches in the past. For a long time, I've been using the Samsung Gear S3, which I absolutely love. It works great and it's got decent battery even after years of usage, and more importantly, something that I loved about that smartwatch is that the fact that it didn't scream that this is a smartwatch. Just turn on the always on display and it will look like a normal watch to most people. And there are a few things about this new Samsung watch that I wish Samsung had still kept around. And one of them would be the rotating bezel. My Gear S3 had this rotating bezel that made it really easy to navigate around the watch without having to touch the screen. And I totally loved that. And they kept that around until last year in a separate variant that they call Classic. But now in this generation of the watches, you have to touch the screen to scroll through pages or to navigate through the tiles. Now they have made a workaround for that. The edges of the touchscreen still mimics that function of the rotating bezel, but it's nowhere near that satisfying feedback of an actual moving part. But that's just one little detail. The rest of the watch is really great. Moving down to the strap, I like how the strap works. It makes use of magnets just to snap onto your hands, and that makes it really easy to put the watch on quickly. And to adjust the size of the band, you have a small latch on the inside that you can undo and move the whole band in or out to the exact size of your hands. But if you want to change that to something of your own liking, you can do that. It's a 20mm band, so easily replaceable. And now let's move on to the internals of the watch. This variant of the Watch 5 Pro has Wi-Fi and Bluetooth for connectivity. It's got a dual-core processor, 1.5 gigs of RAM, 16 gigs of storage, and most importantly, runs on Google Wear OS platform. Although it's a different OS now, it's a highly skinned, Samsungified version, if you want to call it that. And it's really good. You get access to the Google Play library, which can give you access to a wider variety of apps on the watch. And now you can have Google Maps and Assistant on here. Although some apps like Assistant and Samsung's own health monitor aren't working for me. And since I'm coming from a really older gen model, I've found a few new health/fitness features, like ECG and blood pressure, although they did not work here in India. But what does work is stuff like body composition, which I've got no idea if it's accurate or not. So coming back to those two buttons on the side that I mentioned. While measuring things like ECG, blood pressure and body composition, these buttons double up as sensors that you place your fingers on. Then the sensor does its thing and you can get the reading on the watch and on your Samsung Health app on your phone. And talking about activity tracking, it's got all the standard activities and more, like tracking tennis sessions. And it's also got this thing called GPS route tracking. Basically what it does is that it can use the GPS sensor of your watch to make precise tracking of your location as you're going. And then it can use that data to show you how to get back to the point where you started from, which is pretty cool. There are many other features like sleep tracking. Didn't really have the courage to test that, to be honest. I don't trust myself to not bang the watch against something while I'm sleeping, so no thanks. But one thing that I'd like Samsung to add in the newer generations, probably with a software update or something, is syncing of sound modes between the watch and the phone. If I put my phone in vibrate or silent, it doesn't change that in the watch. The watch would still be in sound mode or whatever mode that you left before. So what I'm trying to say is that if I put my phone in vibrate or silent, it's probably because I want to avoid any kind of sound related distractions at that moment. And having that sync, at least as an option, would be cool. And lastly, there are those few final touches that make this watch really amazing, namely the battery life. The watch can comfortably last 2 full days of usage in my experience, and this includes days with workouts with GPS enabled and continuous heart rate monitoring, connected to my phone at all times, and lots of high brightness usage outdoors. That's impressive, And even if you're low on battery, charging it up is really simple. You could use the included charging puck, which can magnet to the back of the watch, or you could use any Qi wireless charger to charge it up. The next thing that I instantly noticed the moment I picked this up was the haptics. Awesome haptics. It's got really strong and sharp vibrations which are sprinkled across the UI, which make for a truly awesome experience. Like while rotating the virtual bezel, reaching to the end of a page, entering your passcode to unlock, long pressing to change the watch face. Oh, almost forgot to talk about the watch faces. The watch faces, I'd say, are decent at best. From the day I started using the watch, I've kept it in this face called the Simple Classic. This is the best one in my opinion, with the big Roman number 12 at 12 o'clock and the compass complication. Although something to note is that all the built-in faces are customizable to the core, so you can really fine-tune every watch face that comes built in with the watch. So if you want to change that one thing in the watch face, you can absolutely do that. But some of the watch faces from my Gears 3 are still looking incredible in my opinion, like the Urban Classic and the Chronograph Plus. Maybe Samsung should bring those back. So this watch only comes in this one size, which is 45mm. It's pretty average in my opinion, not too big, not too small, and they've got two color options. This grey titanium that I've got and a black titanium, which looks better if you ask me. You could also opt for an LTE variant if you need that. And talking about the pricing, it costs $449 for the Bluetooth variant and $499 for the LTE variant in the US. And here in India, it costs around Rs 45,000 for the Bluetooth variant and 50,000 for the LTE variant. And lastly, if you're looking to buy this watch, let me tell you that if it's really worth spending your hard-earned money on this watch. So first off, if you've got a Galaxy Watch 4 or anything newer than that, do not really look into buying this watch. It's not really worth spending that extra money on this one unless you want something really specific like the sapphire crystal glass or the titanium case. But if you're new to the smartwatch game, you've got an Android phone, even better if it's a Samsung smartphone, and you want the best of the best, look no further. This is going to be an excellent choice for you. And that's pretty much it. This is the part where we end the video. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more awesome content like this. Thanks a lot for watching, and until we meet the next time, goodbye.